Hi, everybody. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today we're going to go over Chapter 9 of Bud Not Buddy and the vocabulary words 1 to 8. For this lesson, you will need a pencil and a piece of paper or your journal. And you're going to divide the paper into 3 equal parts or thirds, 1, 2, 3, and write numbers 1 to 8. So if you need to, push pause, get your materials, and when you're ready to join me, push play. So after you write your vocabulary word, in the next column, you're going to write a synonym or short definition. And a synonym is a word that means the same or is similar in meaning. For example, combine is similar to mix. They are synonyms. They mean basically the same thing. If you don't catch the synonym or the short definition, that's okay. You can write the word again. And in the last column, I want you to draw a quick picture or sketch to help you remember the word. So for this lesson, here's our learning target. I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand descriptive language like similes, metaphors, and idioms from Chapter 9 of Bud Not Buddy. Success criteria. That means how will you know you're successful at using pictures and context clues to understand descriptive language like similes, metaphors, and idioms? Well, here are our steps to success. I will write down each vocabulary word or idiom. Number 2, I will write a synonym or short definition for each word. Number 3, listen and follow along to each quote from the chapter. Look for the vocabulary word or idiom. And then finally 4, go back and draw a quick sketch for each word or idiom. So at the end of the lesson, I'll show you all 8 words. You can push pause to get caught up on writing a short definition or synonym and also a quick sketch. And at any time, if I'm going too fast, you can always push pause, get caught up in your writing, and then push play. So when you see the man holding his hand up to his ear, that just means listen. You do not need to write it. So this is a review from Chapter 7, Standard Highway Mileage Guide. We talked about this in Chapter 7. And here's our quote. She reached under the desk and pulled out another thick book called the Standard Highway Mileage Guide and turned it to a page that had 1,000,000 numbers and city names on it. Bud. So when she says, or when Bud says there was 1,000,000 numbers and city names on it, were there actually 1,000,000? That is actually an exaggeration or a hyperbole. Hyperbole. So here's our definition more. The library was the place where people would go for reference information. There was no internet to look up the question of distance between 2 cities. So you had to use this book called the Standard Highway Mileage Guide to figure out how many miles there were between 2 cities. So when you see the pencil, that means you need to write the word. So here's our first word or words, Grand Rapids. And if you notice, they're capitalized because it's a proper noun. It's a name of a place. Grand Rapids, a city in the state of Michigan, 120 miles from Flint, Michigan. So Grand Rapids is a city in the state of Michigan, and it's 120 miles from Flint, where Bud is. And here is a map of part of Michigan, and I circled where Grand Rapids is and where Flint is. And here's the Standard Highway Mileage Guide. So here's the quote. I went over to a table and found Flint and Grand Rapids in the lines of the book. I looked where the 2 lines met and it said 120 miles, Bud. So here's Bud in Flint And if he wants to walk to Grand Rapids, he needs to walk 120 miles. That's the distance between the two cities. All right. Listen, Bud uses a lot of figurative language when he talks. Figurative language versus literal language. Here's an example of figurative language. He ran like the wind. So there's some figurative language describing how the man in this GIF is running or short video clip. Literal language, you could say he ran fast. Listen, an idiom. An idiom is a saying that has a completely different meaning than the actual words themselves. It's a type of figurative language, idiom. So here's an example of an idiom. It's raining cats and dogs, so take your umbrella. It's not literally raining cats and dogs, but it's raining very hard. So the idiom or phrase is, it's raining cats and dogs. So number 2, write time flies. Time flies. So when you say time flies, it means time quickly passes or goes by very quickly. And if you notice, I highlighted the shorter definition. Time flies is an idiom. Idiom, time flies, meaning time goes by very quickly, so quickly that you almost didn't notice it. Your daughter is already in college? Time flies. Here's our quote. There's another thing that's strange about the library. It seems like time flies when you're in one. 1 second I was opening the first page of the book, and the next second the librarian was standing over me saying, "It's time to close now, Bud." Here's another type of figurative language, so listen. Personification. Personification. It has the word person in personification. That's a clue. Personification is giving human qualities to a thing or an idea. And again, it has the word person in it, which is a human. And here's our example of personification. The sun was peeking through the clouds. So that's a type of figurative language, making the sun act like a person or a human. Is the sun really peeking through the clouds? No, but it's like they were peeking through the clouds. All right, listen again. Here's a quote. I couldn't believe it. It had happened again. I spent the whole day reading. Her words snapped a spell that was on me, and my stomach started growling right away. I was going to be late for the mission. So, in this quote, the librarian talks to Bud. So her words are snapping a spell on Bud. They're acting like a human. Her words were snapping a spell on her. That's personification. And then his stomach started growling. Grrr. So can a stomach act like a human? Well, in this case, it is. It's growling. Here's our another type of figurative language, simile. A simile is a comparison of two things using the word like or as. Here's our example. His face lit up like a light bulb when he figured out the math problem. His face lit up like a light bulb when he figured out the math problem. So number 3, idea. What is an idea? It's a thought or plan of action. So for number 3, write idea. You could write a synonym could be thought. So here's our quote. It's funny how ideas are in a lot of ways. They're just like seeds. Both of them start real small and then whoop, zoop, sloop. Before you can say Jack Robinson, They've gone and grown a lot bigger than you ever thought they could, bud. So, ideas are like seeds. That's our simile. It uses the word like. Ideas are like seeds. So, our simile is comparing ideas to seeds, and there's the word like in there. It's a thought or plan of action. All right, number 4, treasures. Treasures of very valuable items like gold and jewelry, treasures. And here's our quote. I mean, what other reason could there be for Mama to keep all these things I have in my suitcase and treat them like they were treasures? So Bud is saying that all the flyers in his suitcase are like treasures. So that's another simile. It has the word like. So the flyers in his suitcase are like treasures. So for number 4, write treasures. Treasures are valuable items. Number 5, maple tree. A maple tree is a tree with flat, broad leaves. Here's an example of a maple tree. And we get maple syrup from certain types of maple trees. That's why those buckets hanging on the trees to catch the maple syrup or the sap. And here's the quote. If you look at a great big maple tree, it's hard to believe it started out as a seed, a little seed. So if you look at a great big maple tree, it's hard to believe it started out as a little seed. All right. Metaphor, another type of figurative language. A metaphor is a comparison of two things. You do not use the words like or as in a metaphor. So here's an example of a metaphor. The racer was a lightning rod coming across the finish line. The racer was a lightning rod coming across the finish line. That's a metaphor. Number 6, ignorant. Our word is ignorant. Ignorant means having little or no knowledge, not educated. So you could say no knowledge, or you could say not educated for your short definition of ignorant. And here is our quote. Billy, the bully at the home, said to Bugs, I wouldn't expect a little ignorant roach head like you to know nothing about folks coming back here to get you out. You don't even have no idea who your mama and daddy is. So Bugs is a ignorant roach head. That's what Billy called him. So that's a metaphor. It didn't say he's like an ignorant roach head. It just literally says he is an ignorant roach head. So there's a roach. All right, write this down. Number 7, buffalo nickel. Buffalo nickel. A buffalo nickel is a coin worth 5 cents. So write buffalo nickel, a coin worth 5 cents. A buffalo nickel had a Native American on one side and a buffalo on the other. They were in circulation during the Depression. Billy stole a nickel from somewhere and held it up so the buffalo on it was looking at us. So the buffalo nickel was common during the Great Depression. And finally, number 8, message. Message. What is a message? A message is communication sent to someone, usually verbal or written. So, message is communication sent to someone, usually verbal or written. and I highlighted the word communication as a simile, as a word that means the same. The idea got bigger and stronger when I'd sit up at night and wonder why Mama kept those flyers. It, or the idea, dug its roots in deep and started spreading out. When I got old enough to understand that Mama must have known she wasn't going to be around too long and was trying to leave me a message about who my daddy was. So Bud is saying that the idea got bigger and stronger, and his mama was trying to leave him a message. And a message is communication. So Mama was sending Bud a message about his daddy. At least that's what Bud thinks. So his idea got bigger and bigger and stronger, and the roots of the idea started spreading out. And that's a metaphor. He's comparing an idea to roots, or he's saying that the idea is growing roots. And the word is message, and message is communication. Oh, and then also, if the idea got bigger and stronger, that's just like a person. A person can get bigger and stronger. So it's personification. All right, time to check your work for chapter 9, words 1 to 8. Number 1, Grand Rapids, a city in the state of Michigan. Number 2, time flies. The time quickly passes or goes by very quickly. Number 3, idea, a thought or plan of action. Number 4, treasures, very valuable items like gold and jewelry. So this is a good time to push pause. Make sure you have all 4 words and a synonym or a short definition, and then a quick sketch for each. And once you're done for these 4 words, push play to rejoin the lesson. So if you need to finish your words, your synonym, or your picture, push pause now, and when you're finished, push play. All right, number 5, maple tree, a tree with flat, broad leaves. 6, ignorant, having little or no knowledge, not educated. Number 7, buffalo nickel, a coin worth 5 cents that was used during the Depression. And 8, message, communication sent to someone, usually verbal or written. And do the same for numbers 5 to 8. Make sure you have all the words, the synonyms or short definition, and a quick sketch. So push pause, finish words 5 to 8, and then when you're ready to join me, push play. Okay, time to reflect on our learning target. I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand important words from chapter 9 of Bud Not Buddy. Would you give yourself a 4? I could teach this lesson. I easily wrote down all the vocabulary words with the synonym and short definition and quick sketch. Or would you give yourself a 3? I wrote all the vocabulary words and idioms and wrote a synonym or definition and drew a quick sketch for most of the words. Or 2, I wrote most of the vocabulary words and idioms and wrote a synonym and a definition and drew a quick sketch for some of the words. Or 1, I just wrote some of the vocabulary words but did not write a synonym and or picture for each word. So how do you think you did on a scale of 1 to 4? All right, boys and girls, thank you for doing the vocabulary for chapter 9 of Bud Not Buddy. Have a great day.